Hello and welcome again to another episode of Bourbon with Friends. Today we have a very special guest with us. You have probably heard his music many, many times. If you're a college football fan, you've definitely heard his music because I have woken up listening to Coming to Your City I don't know how many times in my life. Mr. John Rich from Big Rich, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's good to join you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate it. I was actually joking around with one of my friends. I was just like, yeah, it's like the voice of college football for me, right? Like that's kind of like the thing. Like that song's been so iconic for years for College Game Day and stuff. So it was so cool, like to have you on. But been a big fan of yours and your music for a long time. So this is very special for me for you to come on the show. So thank you.
Well, these things go together: rowdy rock and roll country music and whiskey and bourbon. Come on, guys.
True.
Absolutely.
True.
Absolutely.
So
perfect recipe, Chanda. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What kind of got you? Like, let's just start at the beginning with this. What got you into whiskey? Initially. And kind of put you on this whiskey journey?
Well, that's somewhat of a loaded question because right out of high school, I'm 18 years old. I was going to go to college, and I met these guys in Nashville from Texas. I'm from Amarillo, Texas. And all these guys were from Texas. They must have just gotten to town, and they had heard me sing a couple of times. And they said, yeah, hey, we're going to put this band together and just play some local shows. You want to be in our band? I said, yeah, that sounds cool, and they said, you play bass, right? I said, yeah, I guess I could play a bass. It's only got 4 strings. It can't be that hard. It's not a bass player. But I've been playing guitar since I was a kid. I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And they're like, okay, come on in. So I start playing with these guys, and a couple of months into it, a booking agent in Nashville hears us play. And this guy he said, man, I could have you guys booked all over North America next year. This was like November of this year. Next year, I can have you all over the United States. And we're like, really? Like, how many dates? He goes, a couple of hundred.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I decided to not go to college and give it 1 year and see what would happen. So here I am, 18, now 19, out on the road with these guys. And you asked me how I got into whiskey. Well, when you're 19 years old playing in bars in all over the United States, you're not allowed to have a drink. So the guys would sneak me a cocktail every now and then, and they wouldn't even let me get off the stage. The bar owners were like, you're underage, you have to stay on the stage. So the guys would get to come down in between sets and go meet the girls, but I had to sit on the stage. That's why I grew a mustache, because I was trying to look older, so they would let me off the stage.
That's so much.
That's the story behind the iconic John Rich mustache. Wow, I never knew that. Wow.
It was out of necessity, guys, because I was barely 19 years old.
Wow.
But, we started playing those bars and did that for a year, and the next year was looking even better. I said, you know what? I think I'm not going to go to college.
I think you might have made the right decision.
Well, my parents were not real happy about that.
Yeah.
I grew up in a double-wide trailer in Texas. So if you got a shot at going to college, which I did, I had a full-ride scholarship to a couple of universities on a vocal scholarship.
Nice.
And I turned it over to stay out on the road with these guys and keep playing Holiday Inns and whatever. But that turned into the band Lonestar. Lonestar got a record deal, and I was off to the races. So the first whiskey I ever tasted, it was something terrible. I forget what it was, but it was the cheapest stuff they could find, for me. And
KG?
I didn't just Mad Dog or something.
Oh, that's even worse.
That's the first time I ever tasted whiskey, though.
So you taste whiskey, it's shit. And you just keep trucking with it,
You're like,
right?
let's just keep going.
so it's really what's funny is that just about everyone we talk to, right, like has that story of, hey, I had whiskey, it was terrible. I don't know why I was drinking it, and here we are. So what kind of kept you on that path instead of going down like wine or another spirit or, everybody kind of likes beer anyway. So like what made you stick with whiskey?
Well, we had a sound man named Jimmy Buster. He showed up in the early days of Lonestar, and this guy had been around the block many times. He was an old sound guy. He did sound for 38 Special and Skinner and all these guys when they come through Georgia, and he became my roommate. And he was like a older brother. Like he was probably 20 years older than me. But one night he said, "Hey man, you want a Crown and 7?" And I said, do I want a what? He goes, Crown and 7. I go, what does that even mean? He goes, Crown Royal whiskey and 7-Up. I went, oh. I said, I ain't big into whiskey, man. It's just hard. She goes, give it a try, man. You might like this combo. So he gives me one. And I take a sip of it, and I went, hey, that's not too bad. And then I went, bam.
And the rest is history.
I got a taste for Crown, and I guess what I liked about it is, Crown is not any kind of whiskey that any aficionado would ever say, yes, that's the greatest whiskey. But at that point, to me, it didn't burn very much. I never liked sour mash, so I didn't like the big nose on whiskeys, and it didn't have that big after push, that some of the whiskeys have. It was pretty mild. So that's what I started drinking, and that became kind of my go-to all the way up to meeting Big Kenny. And what do you know? Big Kenny was also a Crown Royal guy. So that's kind of how we got on that roll on Crown.
So you get down this road, like you start whiskey, you're playing in bars, and now here we are, all these years later, 2 successful bands. I mean, like not everybody gets to say that they've been a part of 2 successful, separate entities within music, especially within country music. You got old Hootie over there. I think, he's kind of been in two different realms, but what made you go, hey, I want to start a whiskey brand?
Well, so that's not how it started, was with whiskey. Here's what happened. There's a phrase that's been around since the early 1960s called Redneck Riviera.
Right.
And people watching this, a lot of people watching it probably go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And they'll immediately probably think of Panama City Beach,
yep.
Gulf Shores, Alabama, down through that, the Gulf Coast down through there.
Yep.
And I was doing a concert with Big Kenny in Gulf Shores back in 2008, long time ago. And I'm sitting there that afternoon and ordered a beer, and the girl brings out a beer, and it's in a beer koozie, and it says, Gulf Shores, Alabama, in the heart of the Redneck Riviera. I said, yep, that's what I've always called it. And I see this little kid go running by, and he's got a tank top on, and it says, my parents went to the Redneck Riviera, and all I got was this tank top. It's pretty funny. And then the songwriter part of me kicked in, and I thought, I wonder who owns the trademark to that phrase. Somebody's bound to own it. I'm seeing it on all this stuff. I wonder who it is.
Right.
So I called my attorney, and I said, hey, would you find out who owns the trademark to the phrase Redneck Riviera? He calls back about 5 minutes later, and he says, you're not going to believe it. It's never been trademarked.
Wow.
And I said, in any capacity, what about barbecue sauce? That was the first thing that hit my mind. There's got to be a Redneck.
Yeah.
He said, no, there is no trademark.
It's about to be now, though.
Anyway, I said, all right. I said, well, I know how to publish a song, but I don't know how to trademark something. How do I do that? He goes, well, what do you want me to do? I said, ball caps and t-shirts. He goes, okay, that's category 17. He goes, what you're going to want to do is build a logo and put it on ball caps and t-shirts, and you got to sell it across state lines, multiple states. You turn in the receipts, and then the federal government, the trademark office, will either deny or grant you the trademark.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. So I spent the next 3 or 4 months building out this logo, this red, white, and blue star, had waves going through the middle of it. And the original phrase was blue water, white sand, rednecks, Redneck Riviera, which is pretty good.
It is so great.
Got my receipts together, gave them to my attorney. He turned them into the government. A couple months later, he calls and he goes, well, now I know it's never been trademarked. They say you can't trademark a geographical location. So there you go. And I said, well, no, not there you go. And he goes, well, that's the answer. I said, well, it's the wrong damn answer. And he goes, well, what do you want me to say? I said, is this an attorney in Washington, D.C. telling you where the Redneck Riviera is? He said, yeah. I said, okay. Ask him this very simple question. Where is it? I want to know where this guy thinks it is, because you can't pay taxes to the Redneck Riviera. You can't mail a letter to the Redneck Riviera. Nobody's address is the Redneck Riviera. So where is it? Well, this attorney hits back, and this is going on now for a year, back and forth. This attorney hits back, and guys, he copies and pastes the Wikipedia answer to where is it.
That's the most DC thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, of course. The lazy way out. But here's the Wikipedia answer. Redneck Riviera is a colloquial term used to describe the beachfront between Destin, Florida, and Gulf Shores, Alabama, otherwise known as the Emerald Coast, end quote. And the second I saw that, I nailed them because they totally forgot about Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and South Padre Island, Texas. And I start going on Facebook, and I'm looking the phrase up, and I'm finding people all over the United States, from Wisconsin to Lake Havasu, using the phrase Redneck Riviera. And the one that I think really got them was this lady had her feet propped up, and the sun's going down in the ocean. She's drinking a Corona. She said, and the caption says, "Another beautiful sunset here in the Redneck Riviera." Would you like to guess where she was?
Mexico?
Alaska.
Delaware. That's where all the rednecks are hanging out, in Delaware. Everybody knows. So
the president's a redneck, right? Like, he's from Delaware, I think.
Of course, yeah. The truth is there are rowdy people in Delaware, too.
There's rowdy people everywhere.
I put all that together. I sent it back to the United States government, and I said, Redneck Riviera is the same place Margaritaville is. It's just a different group of people.
Aww.
Well,
Yeah.
In 2009, I got the trademark for ball caps and T-shirts after all that arm wrestling with them. And that is where I started to then build this brand out. So your question about when did the whiskey show up? So as I'm working through ball caps and T-shirts, wow, a lot of people really want these ball caps and T-shirts. I said, let's try boots. And a buddy of mine named TJ McDaniel showed up in my world, who was with one of the biggest boot organizations, online stores out there, called Country Outfitter. He showed up at my house and said, man, this would be a great pair of boots with your brand. We should make boots. I said, yeah, let's make boots. So we did. Well, hell, those started selling like crazy. And I said, you know what? I'm going to build a bar downtown in Nashville and call it Redneck Riviera. Let's try that next. So we started working on that. While that was going, I'm sitting on the bus one night with Big Kenny, having a Crown Royal with a splash of 7. I'm looking at this Crown bottle. It says Canadian blended whiskey. Well, I knew that. I'm like, Canadian blend? What? I'm drinking Canadian blended whiskey. Is there such a thing as American blended whiskey? I wonder what that would be. So I start going to liquor stores when we're out on the road, and I would ask the store manager, hey, buddy, can you show me where your American blended whiskey is? And every time I'd ask that question, whether it be Iowa, Nebraska, California, Texas, now we don't have anything called that in here. And I thought, you know what? Nobody's ever tried to come with America's answer to the whiskey that I like to drink. And that's where I saw the opening. And I said, now, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to blend this stuff. I don't know anything about it other than I know what I like and I know what I don't like. So I got with a master distiller named Mel Heim, who is one of the best in our country. She's really brilliant. And we sat down in 2017. We spent a year working on the blends. We went through over 200 variations of this blend until we finally got what's now in the bottle. And my final taste tester was Granny Rich, who we were talking about before this podcast started. She'd been drinking whiskey since World War II.
No, she was a badass.
She's a badass. She said, this might be the smoothest whiskey I've ever had. And I said, can I tell America it's Granny Rich approved? And she took a big, long drag off her Marlboro Red and said, Granny Rich approved, and blew smoke right in my face, and then did a shot and set it on her sewing machine, okay? I mean, this is family business. So at that point, 2018 rolls around, and I said, let's give this thing a shot. And you look up here in 2022, we're now in over 13,000 stores throughout the United States.
I just want to say that I am fully confident that Granny Rich would take all 4 of us on in a cage match.
Yes.
No doubt. No doubt.
Absolutely.
Well,
it's tough. You know, she's from the greatest generation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're fortunate enough to have ever spent time around those people, like real time, it'll change your perception of your country, what it means to work hard, what it means to have freedom, what it means to have the right to pursue happiness. I mean, all of that will change if you're ever around those people.
No pussies looking for a safe space there.
No safe space there.
No. Well, let's dive in and try some of this. So the first one, I guess, I don't even guess because I'm just going to try them all. So I'm just doing it because I'm running the show. So this is the first one we're going to try. We're going to do the Redneck Riviera whiskey. This is a small batch whiskey with vanilla honey smoothness and subtle oak finish. It's got 93% American light whiskey aged 3 years and 7% American rye whiskey aged 3 years. And it is 80 proof. And it definitely does have a sweet nose. Like this the one thing that when I was looking up the brand, John, like everyone said, this is almost like a very lake summer type whiskey that you want to drink. This isn't the whiskey that you drink by the fire pit when it's 20 degrees outside. This is the whiskey when it's summer, it's warm, tailgating, all that.
Yeah, and so here's the thing with this whiskey. This whiskey is not $50, $60 a bottle whiskey. This whiskey is down around that $20 range. I grew up in a double-wide trailer. I have a high school diploma. The people I grew up with, month-to-month paycheck people, that is who I sell whiskey to. Those are my people. That's how my head still works. I wanted to come with something that, especially in that price range, was smoother than anything they get their hands on, easier to drink, and, of course, 100% made in the USA. So that was the goal. This
is very easy to drink. Like, I'm seeing all this stuff. Like, it's really sweet, like, really initially. This would be nice on, like, a cooler summer night with a cigar. A nice tobacco. Ooh. So it's got a nice nose on it too. What do you guys think?
Yeah, what I'm getting, John, and this probably is in relation to your love for Crown Royal. There's a lot of Canadian blended whiskey factors in this American blended whiskey, right? So probably has a lot to do with that light whiskey blend, I would imagine, but that sweet, like, overload of butterscotch and caramel that I'm getting, which is what I usually get, like, if I'm drinking a Crown and 7, like, or just drinking Crown straight on the rocks, whatever, that's what I'm getting, right, is like butterscotch, toffee almost, caramel, and that's what I'm getting on here. So was that your goal, to, like, replicate what you were tasting with Canadian blends, but then making an American made?
Yeah, which is tough to do. Let me explain why that's tough to do. And I learned this when I sat down with Mel Heim, the distiller, and started understanding. She goes, in Canada, they can put the word whiskey on a bottle, and it can have all kinds of stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I said, what are you talking about? I said, what have I been drinking this whole time? She says,
I don't know if you want that answer from me.
She says there's pure grain alcohol in Crown Royal. There is schnapps in Crown Royal. There is vodka in Crown Royal.
Spirits, yeah.
In Crown Royal. I said, stop right there. What are you talking about? She goes, I'm telling you, that's what it is. She goes, but in Canada, as long as there's X amount of percent of whiskey in it, they can call it whiskey. But in America, you're going to put the word whiskey on the bottle. It has to be 100% whiskey.
I think it's like 10% neutral grain spirits. Canadian blended whiskey can be up to 10%, which is crazy.
Which is what makes it so sweet and takes a lot of that harshness out.
Correct.
Yeah, so to land in that profile I wanted to land in, that what they're doing in Canada, and I wanted to land in that profile but have a real finish and have a better experience. We had a very limited palette to work with, and it was all about, you know, what are the right ones to use and how much of each one and all this stuff, what ages and things like that. So we finally got it right. Like I said, the word I like to use for Redneck Riviera whiskey, just the standard bottle that you guys have right now, I like to say it's sessionable. Like any whiskey drinker, they're not going to drink it and go, this is the all-time greatest whiskey in the world. They're going to drink it and go, I could drink this whiskey every day. This is an easy, lightweight, very good, smooth, sippable whiskey.
I'm bringing tailgating with me.
What's the over-under? What's the over-under on how many hangovers you had while taste testing, coming up with the blend?
Well, I learned when they send you 20 different samples, don't you drink them with a teaspoon.
Ah, nah, man.
And you're like it's like medicine at that point. You're just okay because you don't sit there. Yeah, that didn't turn out well. So you had to dial it back. But it was quite a process. I mean,
I believe it. Yeah,
really wide, and then it just got narrower and narrower. But it was over 200 different times.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Yeah,
that is. I mean, that sounds like a great time to me personally, but
I would use the phrase mass appeal whiskey.
I'm bringing a tailgating this weekend. I'm just letting you know. Like, you're right. And the thing that I admire about, like, what you're saying, because some people, right, especially if you have, like, a celebrity brand or something like that, they'll come on and they'll talk about, like, how, like, you're like, this is what it is. This is my people. This is what I'm doing it for. I understand this is not – I'm not trying to go win gold medals at San Francisco. I want this to be affordable where people are going to enjoy it. And this is like this, and I agree with you, like this, but I actually think it's solid. I mean, I drink a lot of whiskey. I have like 300 bottles in my house. These guys can attest. I have a lot of fucking whiskey. Right. I enjoy it. Like as soon as I try it, I'm like, I'm bringing this tailgating with me on Saturday. It's going to be warm. This is perfect. I don't want to drink some BS seltzer or beer. I'll look like a little bitch drinking it. I want to drink whiskey. I'm bringing this. It's crisp.
You mentioned the gold medal in San Francisco and all that. Guess what this did? In 2018, Mel Heim entered it in the LA Whiskey Expo. And that giant thing out there, just put it in. Of course, it's blind taste test. And in its category, it won the gold medal. I have a picture of it.
I can't believe it, though. This is good for that $20, $30. This is really good. This is really good. I won't lie. Like, I know it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. That's fine. I'm not like a proof snob. As soon as I was drinking it, John, I was like, this is crisp. And I appreciate that, because when someone has a lot of whiskey and drinks a lot of whiskey like we do, and I think these two they can attest.
Guess where my glass is made? Guess where this glass comes from?
Nashville,
the United States of America.
Yeah.
You know how many whiskey brands use American glass? I can't say zero, but it's real damn close to zero. You know why? Because it's very expensive. There's only like 2 companies left in our country that'll still even make this mold and make this glass. American glass, American corks, American labels, American whiskey, the entire thing. And if you look on the back, every single bottle has that on it.
Folds of Honor.
Yeah, and that's...
I know we're going to get into that, but every single bottle has this. You guys got to remember, guys like me with high school diplomas, my dad's a prison preacher. My dad preached in prisons. Still does. He just turned 70. You don't make a lot of money preaching in prisons, but that was his calling. That was him pursuing happiness. That was him living out what he was supposed to be doing with his life. And even though it didn't make him any money, he kept doing it, and he still does it. And I look at a guy like me, and I look at a guy like him, and I go, I'm going to go chase down what it is that I feel like I was built to go chase down. Whether I ever make any money at it or not, we'll see. But the reason we can do those things and have not the right to be happy, the right to pursue happiness, big distinction there. The reason we have the right to pursue happiness is very simple. It's called the United States military.
Preach.
And all of our veterans, all of our active duty, they are the reason guys like us get to have podcasts.
Amen.
About what we do.
So, John, you don't know this probably, because we were going to talk about this maybe a little bit after the show. But we actually did a bourbon ball at a castle here in Versailles for Folds of Honor. So one of the things that I was going to talk about at the end was going to be that, but this is a good prelude. So you guys have donated well over $200,000 to Folds of Honor. Our first...
You have old numbers.
I said well. I did say well over.
You want me to tell you how well over?
I want to know how. Yeah, brag, preach, because this is important.
How far off is he?
By the time we get to December 31st of this year, we will be right at $1.3 million.
I'm really far off. Hell yeah, man, that's awesome.
1.1 million off.
Listen, it's such.
Just a little bit.
We have I appreciate everything, like, right, with what you're doing, and veterans need everything from someone who's as big as you are to somebody who's as small as we are to support them. And one of the things that we thought are very early on from our platform, even though it's not massive like yours is, we can still make a difference. People listen to us and we can do things. And so we actually started our own charity group that's helped with tornado relief in Kentucky, that's helped with flood relief in Kentucky. We've done almost like $20,000 just in that from doing Instagram lives. We brought in and raised $30,000 for Folds of Honor. It was our first event. We did it. We're doing it with them again next year. Maybe you guys can be involved in that a little bit. That would be cool. But just, my dad's a veteran. He served in the Korean War. So when you say, we're here because of the U.S. military and people that put their life on the line, it's 100% true and 100% fact. And our podcast will always stand with veterans and those who gave and served everything for our country. And so it's one of the things that when we saw this, why we wanted to have you on the show, because we are very aligned in that. So we really appreciate you for standing up for those, and helping their families in that. So thank you so much for doing that and using your platform to benefit our great veterans and their families. Well,
I think you made a great point that regardless of your reach or your influence in this life, everybody has some type of reach or influence. And when people all pull in the same direction, that's when you see big things happen, really big, important things happen. On Redneck Riviera, from bottle one and going into perpetuity. It's not, some brands say a portion of the proceeds will go to benefit, whatever. I've always hated that phrase because what does that mean?
Yeah,
True.
I thought that was funny. I was listening to an interview with you earlier today, and you said portion of the. What the hell does that even mean? Because you're a straight 10% of profit, correct?
Right, straight 10%.
Right.
That's right.
That's like
That's amazing.
Is that now? I have to ask the question because my dad was also a preacher. Does that come from the tithing from your dad? Is that where that kind of came from?
Malachi 3:10.
Look at that. It's almost like we're on the same page.
Yeah, that's the longest verse in the Bible. Basically, my dad always taught me. He said, "Listen, it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, or somewhere in the middle. 10% of whatever you make goes to other people that need it. Whoever God directs you to give it to, that's who you give it to. But you give it always." And he says, if you do that, he said, especially when it's hard for you to do it, if you do it, he says, he tells you that it'll come back to you in multiples of that if you're willing just to go do the right thing.
Right.
And so I've always just done that. And that's why it's set at 10%. Exactly right. That's the tithe on the bottle. Most people don't put that together. So good for you. It's refreshing to hear a guy that knows what that means. But I think that's part of why the brand's being blessed like it is.
Yeah.
That we're, there's kids going to college right now on scholarships that were paid for by that bottle you guys
It's
are
awesome.
holding. And again, it goes back to the point. A lot of our military families are lower middle income,
Which is so shit. Like they put their life on the
Shouldn't
line. They
happen
make.
that way.
Anyway, we can go on a tangent about that another podcast. We'll try and stay a little focused.
Round 2.
that part of it too. Yeah, the fact that if it's not for them, America would no longer exist. I mean, we would have been gone a long time ago. But then the other part of knowing the income brackets of a lot of our military personnel out there, and they lose a mom, they lose a dad, and these kids, for about 6 months or so, everybody's spending a lot of time paying attention to that family. But then life moves forward.
Right.
So what about year 5, 6, 7, 8? And these kids are now getting out of high school. They're trying to go to college, and the money ain't there. Well, here comes Folds of Honor, and they start subsidizing those scholarships and putting these kids through college. Is there a stronger way to say thank you for your service than to look after somebody's kid?
Yeah.
When they're gone?
Right. No, there's not.
Hey,
And I think that's part of the reason we align with Folds of Honor as well, because that hits home for a lot of people.
Cheers.
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 Little Granny's Reserve, right here.
Yeah.
You got the granny, huh?
Yeah. This is also crisp. This is also crisp. This is 86 proof, so it's a little bit hotter. I like how we've got Granny Rich on the back of the bottle. You guys can see that. Here you go. That's great. Folds of Honor again on the back. Redneck Riviera, Granny Rich Reserve, whiskey infused with honey, and it's got Granny Rich's John Hancock on there. So this is also I enjoy this one as well. I think this is enough. Like this is tailgate whiskey to me, John, and that's not a knock to you. That's actually a compliment because I need whiskey to tailgate with. This is good. I'm bringing it with me.
I mean, you don't take a $200 bottle to sit on the tailgate of your truck.
We do sometimes. If it's a big game, we'll bring it. It's a thing, right? Big game, but just normal, we just drink anything.
So there is a different element in this Granny Rich Reserve. There is aged malt whiskey.
I was gonna say it has an earthier, grainier taste to it. The honey is so subtle, but it's present enough where you know it's like present. It was just like I don't drink too many whiskeys that are infused with other things, but this like the way this that's the correct word for this. It's infused. It's not flavored. It's not. It's just there enough where you get a hint of something else. It makes me want to sip it again to be like, did I just taste that? And, so that's good.
Yeah, and back to my whole what I like in whiskey, and I'm just one guy, but I like whiskey that's easy, whiskey that rolls, whiskey that coats my tongue in a good way, leaves a great taste in my mouth when it's over. I don't like whiskey that I can taste up in my nose. That's just me. It's not got a big nose flavor to it like that, but that Granny Rich Reserve, it's got this warm thing to it. When you sip it, you're like, wow. You talk about something good with a cigar, Granny Rich Reserve and a cigar will set you right, fellas and ladies.
We got to get Shanda on
No,
the
I
cigar.
love this.
John, maybe you can tell her how that she has to like just embrace it and go for it, because she won't let the peer pressure of Connor and I. She won't try it. So
that's because she is intellectually superior to both of you guys, and she knows it.
God.
This is quoted.
Well, this podcast is never getting released.
You are a superior creation, young lady.
Oh, thank you. But no, I absolutely love this. I live in Florida, so this is super refreshing. It's hot down here, 90% of the time. So this is a fantastic light, super flavorful. Just like Connor said, like when I saw the honey, I was like curious to see what it would taste like, because we've had all those other ones, that are truly flavored, with something else, and this is a delightful surprise.
It's a great point. There's no flavoring in it. It's actually real honey that's in it. It's just a tiny little bit of actual real pure D honey. It's not coming out of it's not a chemical or a flavoring. It's actual.
It's organic honey, right? Because it doesn't have any like sugar. Yeah. I was going to ask that earlier. I thought it was going to be stupid, but then you said that, and I was like, that's not as
We had the taste before we found the right one that would make sense.
So you've become an alcoholic and a diabetic, basically, all just starting this whiskey.
That's it. I'll be dead soon, guys. See you later.
So the last one you've got here is Redneck Riviera Select. It's a honey apple whiskey. There's no denying the apple on this on the nose on this. This straight up smells like apple.
So do you know what apple I fashioned this after is my favorite apple?
Honeycrisp?
Honeycrisp apple. Bingo, dude.
You know where Honeycrisp apples are from?
God, I'm so smart.
Honeycrisp apples were actually a product, was at the University of Minnesota that is that right?
Guess where I'm from? I'm from Minnesota. Good job. It is. It's a they blended two apples together and they created a whole new breed. Yeah.
Well, that's my favorite apple, so I was trying to get that kind of a flavor in this, and here's what I was going for. I am not a fan of big flavored whiskey. I'm just not. I mean, when I pour something in a glass and it's something flavored and it tastes like a Jolly Rancher in my mouth, I'm like, I can't even taste the whiskey. Where's the whiskey taste?
Oh,
I can't taste it. So what I set out to do, and you tell me how well I did, I wanted you to still be able to taste the whiskey. And then it's got that honey apple thing that's happening, but the whiskey is still alive and present.
Oh, John, this blows Crown Apple out of the water, bro.
I won't even drink. So this right here, this is what I'm just letting you know, John, what's about to happen with this bottle. This bottle's going in the freezer, and it's coming out about mid-October when it's nice and cold for tailgating, and it's going to be shots time. I'm just letting you know, this is what this is. This is like almost like an apple pie moonshine. I know it's not moonshine, but it kind of reminds me a little like a really good apple pie moonshine. There's a lot going on with this. Like I'm tasting, I'm like, oh, apple juice. Wait, there's whiskey. Wait, there's honey. Right. But like the cool thing is the nose has that Honeycrisp apple, like distinct smell, which is really cool.
Yeah. And you still get the whiskey in it. And I'll give you an interesting backstory on this. So the guy that helped me develop this honey apple whiskey is Wes Henderson.
Okay.
It's Angels Envy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Wes and I sat down and I said, man, a lot of people out there that are buying the regular Redneck Riviera and buying Granny Rich Reserve are saying, man, I wish you had, one that was flavored. And I thought, I don't really like flavored whiskey, but that's not really the point here. People are asking for it. So if I'm going to come with something, I'm going to come with something that I would drink that. I'm not going to put something out I wouldn't drink myself, And so I sat down with Wes and he goes, well, what is it you don't like about flavored whiskeys? I said that the flavoring takes over the taste of the whiskey.
It tastes artificial. It's 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 artificial.
That just happened on your guys' end too?
Yep. I was panicking that it was me for a second. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, no. I'm sure the people...
That has to be a soundbite that we have to do something with.
Yeah. No, we will. That definitely is staying in. We're not going to edit that out. Yeah, Paul, we're not going to edit that out, brother.
That was money.
Oh, what's even more funny now is that, like... What's even more funny now is that my cam's gone. There we go. I'm back. Hi. Here we go.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So that was the point. Can we have a flavored whiskey where you still taste the whiskey and the flavor that you are tasting tastes like a Honeycrisp apple? Is it possible?
This is good. No, I think you did a really good job.
What I find about like flavored whiskey is that a lot of times it just tastes like medicine. You know, like there's like a acidic, like medicinal taste. This just literally tastes like the ingredients you have on the bottle: the honey, the apple, and I think
apple
it's like
taste is crazy.
It's insane, and it's like it actually tastes like it's like I know it says on the bottle it's infused, whereas like other flavored whiskeys, I don't drink much of them, but it tastes like they almost make the whiskey and then just dump the flavoring in after. This feels like it's like part of the maturation process and the blending process. It's very nice, and I mean it when I say I've had Crown Apple before. I'd buy this 100 times before I buy another bottle of Crown Apple. This
you want to do something
good.
really interesting? Blend even parts the Redneck Riviera whiskey, the small batch, with the apple, and watch what happens.
I've never done that. Did you just do that?
I just did it. You should do it.
We're blending.
He breaks the knife out. He's like, let's do it. You should definitely try it.
What are you getting on the what tasting notes are you getting, Paul?
It adds more whiskey. It brings it down a lot more. So it kind of takes some of it takes a little bit of the apple out, but it adds a lot more of the whiskey. I don't know, just try it. I'm gonna try there's a lot happening right now, but it's really good. Shanda, you not drinking?
I told you guys I only got the one bottle.
Well, why aren't you drinking the one?
I am drinking the one. I have been drinking the whole time. You're just not paying attention to me, which is,
So by half parts, you mean half the glass of the apple, honey apple, and half the glass of the small batch? Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Isn't that good?
John approved? John Rich approved? Hopefully Granny approved too?
Granny passed away before I got this one out. We lost her in 2020.
Oh.
Rest in peace.
She would have been
I'm sure she would have liked it.
Well, she would have been the one at Thanksgiving. She would have had a big giant pot of apple cider hot, and then she would have just dumped the whole bottle in it, and everybody would just get their cup. And that
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, honorary batch coming this fall then.
This would be good.
Absolutely.
This would be good to cook with. Like if you've ever made like a dessert, like cupcakes with bourbon or anything, right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually basted ribs with that.
Oh God!
Ooh.
Why are you talking dirty on my show? I'm a fat guy.
When you like, I don't know how y'all do ribs, but if you ever missed it with apple cider,
Yes.
apple cider, anything you use apple cider vinegar on or apple cider, if you go with that honey apple whiskey and you use that instead, you get that kind of.
Holy mackerel! I think we need to have a cooking show now.
I actually have made hot sauce with bourbon in it, so it's delicious. John, this has been super fun. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We are really excited. I'm glad I got to create a new blend for you. Like I expect, I only will take 1% of the profit though, just one. The other 11 can go to Folds of Honor.
Got it. Well, I would say first of all, thanks for having me on, and everybody watching out there, thanks for watching. If you want to find this whiskey, I've made it very, very simple for everybody. RedneckRiviera.com. You just go to that website. Has a store locator. You click that, put in your zip code, and boom, all the stores will pop up that are right around your neighborhood. We're in all the Walmarts, Publix, Kroger's, Winn-Dixie's, Albertsons, Safeway, ABC stores, state-owned stores, mom and pops. We're all over the United States, and every time you pull a bottle down, that 10% of the profit's going to Folds. Tell your friends about it, and football time's coming. It's upon us, guys. It's time to break out the Redneck Riviera without a doubt.
Tomorrow, football starts, and I promise there's a lot of shitty games on, but I'm going to have the whiskey, chips, all of it, because it's the first weekend of college football, and I have to do it. So, John, thank you so much for joining us, and everyone remember, a Bourbon with Friends can change the world.
Let's go.